my YouTube channel, The Spanish Master, and subscribe, and so you can have more content. All right, and it can kind of help me to get more stuff like that that is really interesting. So, okay, so the lesson today. By the way, I also have my TikTok account that I'm trying to grow. I only have 2 followers. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, there's just how you start, right? So, Spanish with J2. Go ahead and follow. Okay, so far, hey, Abby, hello there, welcome. So, bienvenidos. Welcome to the Spanish 411.net. Learning something new. Let's review what we did last week. So we start off with the alphabet. Let me just enhance this so you guys can see. And then we jump into the accent mark and the special characters. And then numbers. Um, do you know Stray Kids? What? Okay. Remember to keep the chat educational and um, just try to be mindful of what you say when you're in the chat. All right. Well, let's go back to this. So the Spanish alphabet, accent mark and special characters, numbers in the Spanish. And then we dive into basic phrases. So we're gonna go and let's go ahead and just go basic phrases because that's the lesson for today. And one of the things that I always I think is very important when you're learning a new language. Let me turn off the camera here so you guys can kind of see me. People used to take gets freaked out when it comes to Spanish because they think that it's all about grammar. But you can start a conversation by like having to if you have basic phrases, you can start a conversation. Like there is no easy way to start learning a foreign language by learning basic phrases. And I'm actually now in the process of creating a course. In order to validate that, I'm kind of I actually want to ask you guys help. So if you're gonna take a course, and this is the name, this is the name that I'm thinking of, right? And I already have that, and I'm kind of trying to validate this by talking to people in my circle of friends and school and things like that, some colleagues and things like that. So like if you have a course that someone is creating is offering you for learning a new language, in this case Spanish, call from zero to mastery conversational Spanish. So by the end of this course, you're going to be able to understand and talk basic Spanish. So what type of course would that look like for you? Like, do you want it to be structured in such a way that you only have vocabulary, you have basic phrases, or do you want to have like a lot of bunch of grammar structure kind of thing? Or so because in my mind when I think about teaching Spanish, I think about how babies learn how to talk. They start with like, oh, mama, papa, mama, da. And they start building more vocabulary as they listen to their parents talking to them and they repeat after what they say. That's how you and me learn, be like native speaker language, whatever language it is, right? So think about that for just a second. At some point you just need to dive in and not be embarrassed when you do something wrong, like do say something wrong and you cannot understand or something like that. And just think about like a baby, just like that. They do have a lot of, they make mistakes. In order to make people, trouble and things like that, you're gonna need basic phrases. So, for example, here we got one of it is hola, bienvenidos, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. All those are basic phrases that you can start a conversation with when you start talking, as you can see, right? They're also great since as you kind of progress into like learning, you memorize those and then you move on. And like when somebody say hola to you, okay, you say hola back. So you say, hey, buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches. And you can, I actually am and the mix of like putting this all together in a course, but a more and more interactive, right? So me llamo, cómo te llama usted, cómo se llama usted. That this is really formal, very polite. If you want to say it in an informal way, you say cómo te llamas, cómo te llamas. So me llamo, and then you say your name, right? Mucho gusto, encantado. It's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? It's like what's happening. ¿Qué tal? What's up? If you're learning like Dominican Spanish, this is all different. You're not gonna say "qué pasa." You just say "qué lo que." So this is actually a substitute both for them. "Qué lo que" means like what's up or what's happening or "qué tal." Okay. This compared to the Spanish, Dominican Spanish is really formal. Okay. This is how it sounds like when you met a Dominican. Right? Hey, instead of saying hola, I say hey. They're gonna say bienvenido. I say hey, buen día, buena tarde, buena noche. Me llamo, ¿cómo tú te llamas? Yo me llamo, o me llamo menor, me llamo. So we don't say like cómo se llama usted. Say cómo tú te llamas or cómo tú te llamas, right? So they shorten certain words, and this is the way that people in Dominican republics tend to like just say and have this conversation like back and forth, right? Hey, ¿qué pasa? ¿Cómo le va? How's it going? Like no, we just say ¿qué lo que? ¿Cómo te va? ¿Qué lo que too as well? ¿Cómo está usted? No, ¿cómo tú estás? ¿Cómo estás? Super formal. Although it says like how are you in a formal way, estoy bien. I'm doing well. Now you said ahí tú sabes, tranquilo, más o menos ahí. Estoy más o menos like it's okay, I'm okay. No, I'm so. Así, así, we don't say así, así. We just say, tú sabes, la vaina ahí más o menos, estamos regular, ahí la cosa está dura. It says, I'm not at all well. Usted. Y tú. Y tú. Instead of saying usted, which is a polite way, we say y tú. Y tú. Right? Hey, repite eso, por favor. ¿Cómo fue? Instead of saying repita, por favor, could you repeat that? Or say like, repite eso otra vez. ¿Cómo fue? So that's the way that it sounds like. Instead of saying like, ¿de dónde es usted? Like, where are you from in a polite way, or ¿de dónde eres? We say, hey, ¿y de dónde tú eres? ¿Cómo fue? ¿Y tú eres de la capital? ¿Tú eres de Santiago? ¿Tú eres del norte? ¿Tú eres del Cibao? So we don't say like, ¿de dónde es usted? This is like for when you're talking to your elderly or somebody that you actually, like your principal if you're at school and things like that. If you're at church, you're talking to the pastors, or to the leaders, like ecclesiastic leadership or something like that. That's the way that you can, you conduct yourself in talking to someone. So, ¿Cuánto año tienes? ¿Cuánto año tú tienes? How are you, polite? ¿Cuántos años tienes? This is very, very formal. Like, no people in Latin American countries that I know of in the streets are going to talk to you in that way, unless if they're very educated. So this is more realistic when it comes to like the informal way. And I think it's okay, like to obviously know the differences between those two, but it's always good to see how people in the Caribbean, specifically Dominicans, talk to you, so you guys can understand the differences between them. Okay. Mira, lo siento, no entiendo. Yo no sé nada, no te entiendo, no entiendo. Loco, la macate, tú sabes, mano. Instead of saying lo siento, we say like, monstruo, ¿qué pasó ahí? ¿Qué pasó? You see, so like there's different words and things that you say. Hasta pronto, hasta mañana. And then we got por favor, gracias, de nada, con permiso. So it's an interesting how the conjugation. I was about to say the conjugation, but it's like the translation look like. Con permiso, if you are like you are excused, or if you are excuse me, That's the translation. Is kind of funny. Con permiso. De nada. You're welcome. Gracias. Thanks. Por favor, please. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, and this is just basically, yeah, this is like when you meet people, there are expression, of course, but there are general rules in the Spanish speaking people. They tend to be very warm and patient and understanding. So if you ever like use those words and you made a mistake, they're gonna correct you with love and you're gonna say, hey, you mean this instead of that. And that's how these actually work. Okay. So yeah. And that's the part here of meeting people. So I'm gonna turn up a little bit here like that. So now, I don't know if you have any questions in regard to like phrases that you use when you're meeting people. But if you have any questions, like make sure you put it in the comment area there, so I can kind of like help you out with that. But yeah, so going back to my course, I'm gonna start like promoting this anytime I'm in my live stream. I'm gonna so yes, the idea is to have this course so people can adults like if you're an adult that you're wanting for so long to learn in a very natural way, like by conversing, like we're talking, having a conversation with someone in Spanish, and immersion into the language instead of like going through the motions and having to be stressed out with like grammar rules and all that. Once again, the grammar rules are really important. When it comes to talking to someone, you don't necessarily like have to think about the rules. You just need to understand what people are trying to talk to you, and you have to have a respond back. Though that's why when you meet people, those phrases are so important, and that's what I want to just like put up on my course, and so I can kind of help people and work with them one on one and then regular basis. So I can kind of I think just so that you guys can appreciate the culture and stuff like just getting frustrated with the grammar when you're learning things like that. Once again, grammar is important. I'm not opposed to grammar, but think about that. When you met someone, you're gonna write a piece of paper and just showing them what do you mean by saying hola or bienvenido, buenas tardes. You're just gonna say it, so you need how to pronounce it with the meaning of it. The written format obviously is important, but at the end of the day, it's a conversation, like the understanding, explaining something. That's what's gonna help you to communicate with someone. So yeah, and that's what I base. So any questions so far, that far? I'm drink some of my chocolate milk here. It's like 31 protein. It's actually fairly good. It's got fur life, I guess. Is the name of that. It's pretty good. Got 30 grams of protein, just only 2 grams of sugar, 150 calories. A natural vitamin and minerals in chocolate. Just good. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to spend the next 5 minutes and we're going to go and the next part basically is about date and time. When you're like, what's today's date? So you say today's Monday, and then you say the time and all that. I'm gonna go and review that really quick so you guys can have a sense of um, how to pronounce that and the meaning and all that. All right, let's get it. So think about why is like learning how the time and days are so important? In the previous um, lesson last week, I believe on Thursday, we talked about the numbers. There's a reason why we got numbers first. We got the alphabet and we got numbers first. Because if you don't know the numbers and the alphabet, you can actually start working with dates and time. It's easy to tell the date and time if you know numbers. So, dates right here. It says the following words and phrases will help you to plan out events in the future as well as a better understanding about what happened and when in the past. So, and they have an example here. So people might start arriving at 7:30 or even 8 for a 7 o'clock meeting. That's part of like what the culture in Latin American people. And I think, unlikely in English, like days or week and month of the year are not capitalized. Um, Let me go back so you guys can understand what I'm trying to read here. So basically, what it's trying to say is that when planning for future events with the Spanish speaking people, like me, for example, you should be aware that most Latinos, and don't quote me, have a very cavalier attitude through times and deadlines. The thing is, like, and let me turn that back here. People in Latin America are very laid back. Now all of us are like that. So I've been living in the United States for quite a bit of time to understand that you're supposed to be, uh, you know, getting on time up to places. Doesn't matter if it's like church or work. So you have to be on time. And I struggle with this all my life. It's kind of, I don't know if it's cultural stuff, maybe because I grew up in an environment that was very laid back. And but if you're in the United States, in Europe, people are very like, you have to be there. If the meeting says that it starts at 7 o'clock, you don't show up at 7 o'clock. You show up like, like 15 or maybe 30 minutes before, so you can get there. And they start the meeting at 7. Here it says that like people might start at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. That's half an hour to an hour for the meeting that's supposed to start an hour before. So it's kind of tough, but that's the way that, that's why when you go on vacation to places, you got to understand that certain places, they're going to be like, okay, we're going to meet at this place at that time. So just plan ahead like half an hour. They're all going to roll up at the same time that you probably say that the actual time they start. So, um, good Kosi, welcome to the group. Um, I hope that I say your name right. I'm not sure if I said it right, but so el día means day, la mañana means morning, la tarde afternoon, la noche that can be either evening or night, just depending the context or the time of the day, time in the day. Then we got ayer, hoy, mañana, en qué día, en el domingo, and then we got the days of the weeks. So we got lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado, and then we got, well, they forgot about el domingo. That's interesting because they don't have el domingo here, which is Sunday. And then we got la semana, el fin de semana, and what else? We got get la fecha, and then we have ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy? Which is like, what is the date today? And then with that es el 24 de enero. It is here is like very fascinating stuff in Spanish. So in Spanish you can say es el, and then you say the date 24 of January. But then here it's 20 June. Did you see that it's backward? So the date, the number goes in front in Spanish, and then in English you put the month first and then the number after. So it took me a long time to understand why it is like that, but actually, when you're writing, you got to understand that that's the way that in English is written, but in Spanish it's totally different, so it's backward. Okay, so here we got es el primero de febrero. It is the first of February. So very interesting stuff. Kind of cool. So this is the whole thing here. I'm kind of surprised that they forget Sunday. I don't know why they don't have the Sunday there. If they have Monday all the way to Saturday, but they don't have Sunday. Oh, actually, it's here. Sunday's here. My bad. So look here. That's Sunday. En el domingo.
En el domingo. En el domingo.
That's the pronunciation there. So that website is super cool. Like you have pronunciation, you get translation of the word if you don't understand that, and you can go back and listen to the
En el domingo.
En el domingo. So then you kind of pronounce after that. That's kind of cool. And then we get a bunch of like these whole examples on how you say the time. And then we got the month of the year. So we start off by numbers first in the previous lesson, and then we got the day of the week. And then we got there's a lot of information, so we're gonna break this down in two sections. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna finish this section here, and then tomorrow we're gonna review this and then jump on something else related to this. Because there's a lot of information, so you don't want to remember none of this stuff. So you got to divide it into little chunks. Because I don't want this video to be more than 30 minutes, and I'm getting close to the 25, 26 minutes mark. So no se dice el marzo. I don't know why they have el in front of that. So you say marzo, abril, mayo, junio, julio, agosto. They have like el in front of all this stuff. I'm kind of disappointed that this website it is so good, but now they're like it's just like, what would you put L? It is a masculine noun because it's a month of the year, but you don't have to put it like L in front of all this stuff. I just don't understand why they do that. But anyways, so you got el marzo. Just omit the word L and just say the word marzo, abril, mayo, junio, julio, agosto, septiembre, octubre, noviembre, diciembre. So that's the way that you pronounce those. So if you hit to this, like
El marzo.
You say en marzo, not el marzo. Okay. If we would have the power to rewrite and redo this whole thing, I probably would. One thing I will change is like take the L away from it because that can confuse people. Because when you're talking, you don't say like en el marzo es mi cumpleaños. You say no. You don't say and the month of March is when I celebrate my birthday. That's what it sounds like, very redundant. Anyhow, so there you have it. And then you have this whole information thinking. So we're gonna stop right there and let's go back to the previous section. So this is the section here that says dates and time. And then we got basics phrases. Okay, good. So I hope that you can enjoy this lesson. I know that was very short, but like I said, I don't want to kind of go along because then it's just like, oh, this is so boring. So I want to just keep before the end and see if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm just gonna call it a day and say thank you for sticking around to the for the live stream. And live like why you're like trying to learn Spanish or in any other language. Because if you don't know the why, it's gonna be hard for you to stick around and do the boring stuff first. Because you have to do those boring stuff first in order to understand and start talking. So if you take my course, which I gonna start developing like pretty soon here. I'm in the making of that um, course. You will be able to speak the basic stuff. You know, introduce like you're gonna be able to introduce yourself in Spanish. You're gonna be able to read basic like elementary level Spanish, like you're gonna be able to read a book, elementary level book, and what else? So you're gonna be able to understand when people talk to you because you're gonna be using words like "Can you repeat again? Puedes repetir otra vez?" And people are gonna slow down and they're gonna talk to you, and in such a way that look, he's trying or she's trying to understand. So let me repeat, but let me go slowly because the basic stuff they don't change. It's still the same no matter what language you use. And people are um, very nice and they're gonna kind of slow down and gonna talk to you in a very easygoing way. All right, everybody. It was a pleasure to have you all, guys, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like this content, make sure to share with other, like, and we'll see you back tomorrow around 8:30 tonight for half an hour more of like the Spanish Master. Yay! Bye bye.